Um, this is finally our last class. Today, we're covering the final two chapters of the textbook. As the author notes, these two themes naturally expand into discussions that overlap with the topics of the next two volumes. So, in that sense, I think it actually works well to cover both chapters together in a single week. One of the most important indicators that shows the deep level roots of human social and economic activity is what? Yeah, that's right, money. We can use the word money either as currency in an instrumental sense or as wealth. But in this book, it's used in the sense of measurement of wealth. So Um, in this book, the author uses the word money as currency, and that's the meaning the author mainly has in mind. According to Broden, money is just a tool or a structure and something that reveals a kind of deep regularity in human life. The underlying rules that show up in the long developing world of exchange and commerce. So money becomes becomes a good indicator of socioeconomic relations by looking at how money circulates and how it is spent. You can make solid judgment about human activity. And even though money has been used for a very long time, going back to antiquity, it still remains a mysterious and deeply complicated thing. Something that continues to stir human greed, desire, anxiety, and fascination. Um, the anxieties and problems that money brings, it turns people into objects. It turns human labor into a commodity. And and it starts to control even the most basic conditions of human life, making other humans um not just laborers but as the slaves. Yeah, that's that's the real problem, right? In the end, it can money can lead to a situation where people can no longer truly respect one another as human beings and forget the value of humanity itself. Like you can see in the picture, all the merits and the problems, uh, it can be said it is from the money itself. However, is that money a bad thing? Money itself plays a role in similar to blood in the human body or lubricant in a car. It keeps the economy of a society running smoothly. I'm just saying the positive aspect of money, and it doesn't produce any goods on its own, but it helps. goods circulate from the producer to the people who need them. And so money itself isn't wealth. It's the tool or unit for measuring wealth, and wealth is the amount that gets measured. The real reason money exists is the money-based economy. In other words, the our society using money. Money can only take root where people want it and are able to bear its costs. And in order to use this useful tool, money, we need also yeah, money to use money. It's funny. It's very funny to discuss about money. I'm sorry. Yeah, money is not worth itself. As money is just a measurement of the wealth. And wealth is the quantity measured. Um, okay. During the long stretch from the 15th to the 18th century, the most common method of exchange was still barter. Barter means to exchange things. But alongside it, various forms of primitive money circulated as supplementary means of exchange, depending on the regions. Things like cowrie shells, seashells, kind of seashells, salt, tobacco, sugar, and cocoa functioned as money. It's a mistake to think these early forms of money was somehow imperfect. That's just because today's money isn't perfect either. Likewise, primitive money was real money. What happened to these early currencies was that once Europeans arrived, their circulation sped up, their value dropped, and catastrophic inflation followed. Eventually, even counterfeits spread, the fake money spread. It's not hard to imagine the kind of shock an advanced economy could inflict on or more primitive one. Cash money entered the everyday life of modern state and the modern individual. And the modern state became the main supplier of money and also one of the major beneficiaries of this shift. Along with the state, the people connected to money also benefited, like tax collectors and money lenders, landlords, financiers, and so on. Even within the monetary economies of civilized states of the Western countries, barter is exchanging things. Um, barter never completely disappeared. In 18th century Scotland, for example, people sometimes paid for bread with nails instead of money. And those are from the metal, the iron, right? And so they are the same, they're like metallic ones. And at taverns where people drink alcoholic beverage, they would drink beer and settle the bill with the nails as well. Yeah, and the illustration, this was shown with a hammer. Yeah, I just used hammer. Okay. Um, Outside Europe as well, regions were gradually moving toward a European-style money economy. In 17th century Japan, ordinary people didn't yet use metal coins in everyday life and treated rice almost like money. But over time, taxes came to be paid in copper coins, and among the ruling classes, gold and silver coins were also used. China, too, resembled a society still using early stage forms of money. From the ninth to the 14th century, paper money did appear. Paper money did appear, but copper remained the main metal currency, and silver functioned as a kind of higher level of currency. In a way, it was a dual standard system, silver and copper, and values were controlled by adjusting to ratio between the two. So, from the standpoint of monetary development, China might look more primitive or least refined, but its system actually had consistency, integration, and a distinctive structure of its own. So, so we can say that don't judge a book by its cover, right? Yeah. So China also had its own system. So don't say that it is imperfect. Uh, um, for Chinese people, is um, yeah, perfect for them. But there's nothing perfect, right? In human life, in our earthly life, there's no not there's nothing like perfect things. And in Europe, people experienced almost every kind of monetary system imaginable. At the lowest levels of society, people relied on barter, self-sufficiency, and primitive forms of money. At the upper levels, gold, silver, and copper coins were used, and eventually various forms of credit emerged as well. This whole system then expanded on a global scale and ultimately absorbed the non-European world. And of course, it did so because it benefited Europe. Um, metal, metal, metal currencies were connected to one another and differed in value. In Europe, people used the three metals, gold, silver, and copper. The advantage of this system was that its metal could use different needs in exchange. Higher value metals were used for large, non-everyday payments. So gold coins were mainly used by monarchs and the church, silver coins in ordinary commercial transactions, and copper coins among the lowest classes. In the late 18th century, Britain effectively recognized gold coins as both legal tender and a main circulating currency, using silver only as a supplement. France, however, based its system on silver. Um, the ratio between gold and silver kept changing. People tried to fix the value of gold at 12 times that of an equal weight of silver. But the ratio constantly shifted. Before the massive inflow of American silver in the late 16th and early 17th centuries, silver had been more valuable. Afterward, gold became more valuable. So by the early 18th century, the average gold-silver ratio was about 1 to 15.27. And by the mid 18th century, around 1 to 14.93. We need to distinguish between the two concepts here. First, there's a real physical money, like gold and silver coins, whose material itself has intrinsic value. But as multitude kinds of money circulated together, people needed a unified, common standard by which to measure their value. So they created nominal money or fiat money, a kind of imaginary or abstract currency, a unit used to measure the value of physical money. Today, this takes the form of paper, paper bills we carry in our wallets. Um, yeah, is a nominal money. Uh, this is, of course, is just paper in itself, right? But once the government or central authority declares it as legal tender, people accept it because they trust that it can be used to obtain goods and services. With the rise of nominal money, new and more complex economic discussions became necessary, especially about things like the amount of money in circulation and the speed at which it circulates. In economics, we often express this with a basic equation like this. If Q is total output and P is the average price level, then their product equals the amount of money, M, multiplied by its velocity, speed, V. This means that it's not just the quantity of money that matters, the speed. The speed at which it circulates also becomes a crucial factor. If money circulates quickly, even a small amount of money can have the same overall economic effect. And so, unlike earlier barter systems, a money economy makes economic activity much more complicated. And as paper money and credit systems become more developed, even more variables come into play. We'll look at these complexities in detail in Broder's next books. So we will wrap up our discussion on money here. To sum up, money, like any other technology, money is something created by human needs and demands. As economies developed and grew in scale, the functions and reach of money as a tool expanded as well. And because money reflects the society that uses it, even if we were to see some kind of international monetary unification, each society will still end up occupying its own position within that system. Some societies would hold privileged positions, uh, while others would remain on the margins. Of course, this is a broader conclusion, and you can assume that it's quite mm, yeah, um understandable that this makes sense. Even though we use in a situation that uh, uh, that we use the same um, the currencies in a global economy as a one system, one economy as the like global one. But however, we could by regions, by regions and by countries, they own their okay systems like using the um like the other means to uh, says and buys things. All right. This is the for the chapter 7. Uh, after after a short break, we'll talk about the final chapter, volume chapter 8, which is about the cities. Okay. See you soon.